Why would a married man who should guard his secrets as if they were locked behind 7 doors suddenly open up to you? What lies within this gesture that seems so simple, yet carries a weight almost no one ever notices? Carl Jung once said that nothing we do is fully conscious. Every word that slips out carries the force of something far greater. Archetypes, shadows, hidden desires, unhealed wounds. So when a married man opens his heart, it is not just a confession, it is his unconscious speaking directly to you. But here's the mystery. This opening does not mean what you think. It is not simply trust, it is not just friendship, and it is not always love. It is a secret code, a psychological movement that reveals far more about him and about you than you might imagine. Today, you will discover why this happens and the true meaning behind this act. Get ready. After hearing this, you will never see a married man the same way again. The hidden secret behind his words. When a married man opens his mouth to share something intimate, we often fail to notice the true weight of what is being said. To most, it looks like a casual conversation, maybe an ordinary confession, but through the lens of Carl Jung, every word carries symbols, shadows, and fragments of the unconscious. The secret is not only in what he says, but especially in what slips between the lines, in what he cannot control. The unconscious never stays silent. It finds ways to surface even when reason tries to hold it back. So when a married man opens up to you, it is not simply an act of trust. It is a sign that something inside him has broken through the barrier of consciousness. Jung taught that every word is a living symbol, and behind this gesture lie hidden messages that reveal desires, frustrations, and even projections he does not understand in himself. This hidden secret is not something he consciously chooses to give away. Most of the time, he does not even realize how much he has revealed. It may sound like a loose phrase, a trivial memory, or a meaningless confession, yet deep down, it is a code from his deeper psyche. He opens up because you represent a symbolic space that he cannot find in his everyday life. You become the mirror where his hidden truth is reflected. When a married man shares confidences, what is really at stake is the struggle between his conscious self and his unconscious self. The conscious wants to maintain order, appearance, the stability of his marriage. The unconscious, on the other hand, seeks expression. It wants to show unhealed wounds, repressed longings, emotions that never found space within the marriage. And it is exactly at this point that the other person appears, not just as someone to listen, but as the channel through which his unconscious gains a voice. Jung often spoke about the shadow, that part of the personality an individual does not acknowledge, but which insists on showing itself. The secret behind a married man's words is, many times, the voice of the shadow. He may speak of dissatisfactions he never admits in public, of dreams he abandoned, of desires that seem forbidden. Each sentence he shares with you is, in reality, a crack in the mask he built. It is crucial to understand that this movement does not necessarily mean love or passion. It means that you, in some way, touch a place in his psyche that has been suffocated. His words act as windows revealing an inner space of lack, of emptiness, of search. That is why the secret is not only in the content, but in the fact that he needed to find someone outside his formal life to express his truth. This is a deep sign that something within him is out of balance. From this opening, an intense psychological field is created. You may feel yourself being drawn into a universe that is not fully yours. That happens because as he speaks, he transfers onto you part of his pains and hopes. It is as if he were handing you fragments of his soul to carry with him. The hidden secret behind his words is that he is not merely telling you something. He is placing on you what he can no longer bear alone. This process carries risks. The listener can be entangled by the emotional weight attached to those words. It is seductive to feel that someone trusts you enough to reveal secrets. But from Jung's perspective, that trust is not merely personal, it is archetypal. You may be embodying the role of the anima, the inner feminine image he projects onto you. In other words, what he sees and feels is not only about you, but about the part of himself that longed to be expressed. Behind the words, therefore, lies an involuntary confession. He is showing his vulnerability, but also revealing how much his conscious life is unable to sustain the totality of his psyche. That is powerful, and at the same time dangerous. Powerful because it allows you to see human depth. Dangerous because it can drag you into a web that does not truly belong to you. The hidden secret is that when a married man opens up, he is not only speaking to you, he is conversing with his shadows, his archetypes, his unconscious. You are the stage where this interplay comes to life. And by understanding this, you realize that behind every word there lies a truth far greater than it seems. The shadow that reveals itself when he trusts you. When a married man chooses to confide in you, it may appear on the surface as a simple gesture of trust. Yet according to Carl Jung, what really comes to light is the hidden part of his psyche, the shadow. The shadow is not a monster lurking in the dark, but rather the side of him that he denies, the emotions and desires he has pushed down, the parts of himself that he does not want to acknowledge. When he begins to trust you with his words, it is not just confidence being offered. It is the unveiling of something much deeper, something he may not even know is speaking through him. The shadow is powerful because it is unconscious. He does not wake up in the morning deciding to share it. Instead, it slips out when he feels safe, when he perceives in you a figure who can receive what he cannot show in his own home. This is why the moment of trust is not trivial. It is a crossing of boundaries where the hidden self pushes through the mask of respectability. Jung believed that the shadow often carries both darkness and treasure. It contains the anger he hides, the sadness he buries, the longing he denies. But it also contains creativity, potential, and truth that he has not yet integrated. When he speaks to you, fragments of this shadow come forward. He might sound vulnerable, uncertain, or even contradictory. That is because the shadow does not speak in polished sentences. It speaks in half-truths, slips, and confessions that reveal the raw material of the soul. Trust becomes the doorway. By trusting you, he lowers the guard that has kept his inner world sealed. You may feel the weight of his words as if they carry more than their literal meaning, and they do. What he says about his frustrations or his emptiness are not just complaints. They are signals of his shadow trying to reach the surface, calling out for recognition. From a Jungian perspective, this is not an accident. The psyche is always seeking wholeness, and the shadow is part of that wholeness. By confiding in you, he is unconsciously attempting to integrate what he has long repressed. Yet because he is not fully aware of this process, he projects onto you the role of a safe vessel. You become the container for his unspoken parts, the one who holds what he cannot carry alone. This can be flattering, but it is also dangerous. It is flattering because it makes you feel chosen, special, trusted above others. It is dangerous because you risk mistaking the shadow's voice for love or deeper commitment. The truth is, what is being shared may not be about you at all. It is about him wrestling with himself, using you as a mirror. This distinction is critical to grasp, because misunderstanding it can pull you into a role that drains your own energy. Jung warned that confronting the shadow requires courage and clarity. If you find yourself in the position of listening, remember that his openness is not a gift of love alone. It is a signal of his inner division. He is both attracted to and frightened by what he reveals. And because of this ambivalence, he may continue to swing between closeness and distance, between honesty and withdrawal. The moment he trusts you is also the moment you begin to see him more truthfully. His words are not just reflections of the man he pretends to be. They are glimpses of the man he actually is, carrying unresolved conflicts and hidden yearnings. What you hear in those conversations is not polished. It is raw, unfiltered, and deeply human. The shadow is never easy to face, not for him and not for you. But it is through these revelations that his unconscious becomes visible, and once it is visible, it changes the dynamic forever. You are no longer just someone in his external world. You have become a witness to his inner reality. The hidden truth, then, is that when he trusts you, he is not only sharing secrets. He is showing you his shadow, often without knowing it. And once the shadow has been seen, it cannot be unseen. That is the turning point. The recognition that his trust is not only personal but profoundly psychological. It is the shadow knocking at the door of consciousness, using you as the doorway. And if you want to go deeper into these hidden patterns and finally understand the forces shaping your relationships, there is a simple path. It's called the Jung Method, and it helps you see yourself with clarity. The link is pinned in the first comment. Why you become the mirror he cannot find at home. When a married man begins to open his heart to you, the reason is rarely about casual conversation. On the surface, it may look like he simply feels comfortable, but from a Jungian perspective, what is happening is much deeper. You become a mirror, not just any mirror, but the one he cannot find inside his home. Through you, parts of himself that remain invisible in daily life begin to reflect back. Carl Jung believed that every relationship contains projections. We do not see people exactly as they are. We see them filtered through the lens of our own unconscious. For a married man, this process becomes even more intense, because the roles inside his marriage are often fixed. Husband, provider, partner, father. These are established masks, and they limit how he can express his inner complexity. When he looks at you, he unconsciously projects parts of his psyche that he cannot project onto his wife. This is why your presence feels different to him. You are not carrying the same expectations, duties, or years of shared patterns. Instead, you appear as a fresh surface where his hidden self can be reflected. In Jung's language, you may embody the anima, the inner feminine image that lives inside every man. The anima is not just about romance. It is the gateway to his soul, the figure that carries beauty, inspiration, vulnerability, and longing. When he sees you, he is not only seeing you, he is seeing the anima that he has been neglecting within himself. The mirror effect can be powerful. You may notice that his words carry intensity, as if he is trying to discover something about himself through your eyes. That is exactly what is happening. The things he shares with you are less about informing you, and more about exploring himself. You reflect back to him qualities he cannot access in the marriage: freedom, openness, curiosity, or even rebellion. This is why the bond feels so charged. It is not just about what you are, it is about what he rediscovers about himself through you. But this mirror is not without distortion. Projections always carry illusion. He may see in you what is not really there, because he is actually seeing what he craves internally: the admiration, the trust, the emotional intensity. These may feel overwhelming, but they are part of the projection. He is, in essence, borrowing your presence to speak to his own soul. This explains why conversations with him feel unusually meaningful. In you, he finds a mirror that shows not only who he is, but who he longs to be. He may confide dreams he never dared to voice at home. He may express doubts he hides from his spouse. Each word becomes a way of testing this new reflection, trying to see if it matches the image inside him. From your side, it is important to understand that this reflection is not necessarily about you personally. Jung warned that when someone projects their inner world onto another, it can feel like love, destiny, or deep connection. But in truth, it is often the psyche searching for itself. You become special not only because of who you are, but because of what you represent, a mirror that reveals the hidden side of his being. This is also why he cannot find this mirror at home. In marriage, familiarity builds safety but also blindness. Over years, spouses stop seeing each other as mirrors of mystery and start seeing each other as roles. The mystery of the anima gets lost in daily life, replaced by routine. When he looks at his wife, he sees responsibility. When he looks at you, he sees possibility. The risk, of course, is mistaking projection for truth. He may begin to believe that what he feels for you is the ultimate reality, when in fact it is a reflection of his neglected inner life. And you may also be drawn into the illusion, thinking that his openness means a deeper commitment than it really does. The mirror reveals truth, but it also magnifies illusion. Still, the dynamic has undeniable meaning. When he confides in you, when he trusts you with his inner life, he is using you as a mirror for his own unconscious. That is why it feels intense, why it carries a different weight than ordinary conversation. You are showing him a version of himself that he cannot see in the mirror of his marriage. The hidden truth is that he does not only need you. He needs the part of himself that awakens when he is with you. You are the reflection, the surface on which his soul begins to appear. And once he sees that reflection, his life cannot remain the same. The unconscious desire he would never admit. When a married man opens up to you, it might seem like he is simply sharing feelings or thoughts he cannot express elsewhere. Yet beneath the surface, something deeper is moving. Unconscious desire. Carl Jung emphasized that much of human behavior is guided not by what we consciously know, but by what lies hidden in the depths of the psyche. The words of a married man often carry this hidden charge, revealing longings he would never openly admit. Unconscious desire is not always sexual, though it can be. More often, it is the yearning for what has been repressed, neglected, or lost. Within the confines of marriage, certain parts of the self are pushed aside to keep the relationship stable. Duty, routine, and expectation narrow the range of expression. Yet the soul resists limitation. When he finds you listening, present, and open, the unconscious uses that moment to emerge. It is not just trust, it is desire. The desire to recover what he no longer allows himself to feel. Jung described desire as a manifestation of archetypes. Behind the man's words may live the archetype of the lover, the the seeker, or even the rebel. These figures are not chosen deliberately. They arise from the collective unconscious and push for recognition. When he speaks to you with intensity, what you hear is not just personal longing. It is the voice of an archetype demanding space in his life. He would never admit this openly, because consciously he may still cling to the image of being faithful, rational, and controlled. But unconsciously the energy is already spilling out. This is why his words can sound contradictory. He may emphasize loyalty to his marriage while simultaneously expressing dissatisfaction. He may appear committed and yet hint at freedom. These contradictions are not hypocrisy. They are the mark of unconscious desire. Part of him wants stability, while another part wants expansion. His openness to you becomes the middle ground where this conflict plays out. From your perspective, it is important to recognize that unconscious desire is not the same as deliberate intent. He may not plan to act on what he reveals, but the desire is real in its effect. It changes the way he sees you, the way he feels around you, and the way his psyche relates to itself. Desire gives weight to his words even when he insists they are harmless. The danger lies in mistaking this desire for love. Jung warned that projections often create illusions of intimacy. When he speaks to you, he may feel as though he has discovered a deep connection, but much of what he experiences is his own psyche reaching for completion. You become the vessel of that energy, carrying not only his trust but also his unconscious longing. This longing can manifest in subtle ways. He may emphasize how much easier it is to talk to you than to his wife. He may highlight how you understand him in a way others do not. These comments are not only compliments. They are admissions of desire. They show that his unconscious is searching for recognition, for validation, for the possibility of another path. At the same time, unconscious desire always carries risk. Because it is not integrated, it can overwhelm judgment. He may idealize you, imagining qualities that reflect more of his needs than your reality. He may also fear the intensity, pulling back after opening up, leaving you confused. This push and pull is the rhythm of the unconscious. Attraction mixed with resistance, desire mixed with denial. From a Jungian lens, the key is to see his openness as a revelation of his inner struggle. He desires not only you, but the parts of himself that awaken in your presence. This explains why he would never admit it outright. To do so would mean confronting the truth that his marriage does not hold his whole self, and that his soul is calling for more. Such an admission would destabilize his carefully maintained persona. Therefore, his unconscious does the work for him. It speaks through slips, through confessions, through sudden honesty, and you, listening, become the witness of a desire that he cannot confess even to himself. The hidden truth is that his openness carries the energy of longing. It is not accidental. It is not neutral. It is the unconscious revealing what he most fears to acknowledge. And once that desire has been spoken, even indirectly, it cannot be erased. It changes the way he sees you, the way he sees his marriage, and the way he sees himself. When openness turns into emotional dependence. At first, when a married man begins to open up to you, it feels like a simple act of trust. He shares thoughts, feelings, or frustrations that he cannot share elsewhere. Yet as the pattern continues, something begins to shift. What once felt like a gesture of honesty slowly turns into something heavier: emotional dependence. In Jungian terms, this is the moment when the unconscious bond becomes stronger than the conscious intention. Emotional dependence is subtle. It does not happen all at once. At first, he may only confide occasionally, testing the waters. But with every conversation, the unconscious realizes it has found a new outlet. Each time he feels heard, understood, or validated, the connection deepens. Soon he begins to seek you out not just for comfort, but for stability. His inner balance starts to rely on your presence. Carl Jung explained that relationships often carry projections, the act of seeing in another person the qualities we fail to integrate within ourselves. In this case, the married man projects his unmet needs, his hidden wounds, and his longings onto you. What you represent becomes larger than life. You are no longer just yourself. You are the figure who carries his shadow, his anima, his unresolved self. This projection gives the connection a magnetic pull. The problem is that dependence always comes with imbalance. What starts as sharing slowly becomes leaning. He may begin to contact you more often, searching for your attention when he feels anxious, restless, or dissatisfied, instead of processing these feelings within his own life. he places them on your shoulders. You become his emotional anchor, even if you never agreed to carry that role. This can feel flattering at first. To be needed is to feel important. Yet in the Jungian sense, this dependence is not about genuine recognition of who you are. It is about him clinging to the mirror you provide. He feels alive when talking to you because parts of his psyche, long ignored, awaken in your presence. But instead of owning that awakening, he externalizes it onto you. Without realizing it, he builds reliance. You might notice the subtle signs. He begins to share not just deep truths, but every shift in his mood. He may expect you to soothe his fears or celebrate his small victories. He might even withdraw when you are not available, as if deprived of oxygen. These are signs that his openness has crossed the line into dependence. From your perspective, it is crucial to see the pattern clearly. Emotional dependence is not love. Jung would describe it as the unconscious attempting to find wholeness through another person. Because he has not integrated his shadow and his anima, he uses you as a substitute. The risk here is that you start to confuse his intensity with true commitment, when in fact it is his psyche clinging to the reflection you provide. Dependence also creates tension within him. On one side, he feels drawn to you because you fulfill an inner void. On the other, he feels guilt and fear because his dependence exposes the cracks in his marriage. This inner conflict may cause him to oscillate between closeness and distance. He may flood you with attention one day and then pull away the next. These swings are not random. They are symptoms of his divided psyche. The emotional cost for you can also grow heavy. Carrying another person's unprocessed emotions can drain your own energy. You may begin to feel responsible for his well-being, as though you must always be available. In Jungian terms, you are being asked to hold a role in his individuation process. But this role was never truly yours. It belongs to him. The hidden truth is that emotional dependence is not about you alone. It is about his unconscious seeking wholeness, using you as a temporary substitute. What makes it dangerous is that he often does not realize this. To him, it feels like intimacy. To you, it may feel like connection. But beneath it, the psyche is trying to heal itself by leaning on another. This does not mean his words are false or meaningless. It means they are charged with a weight greater than he understands. His openness has crossed from trust into dependency, and once that shift happens, the relationship dynamic is never the same again. The hidden signs that he needs you more than he realizes. When a married man begins to confide in you, it may first appear like a harmless gesture, a small release of feelings he cannot share elsewhere. Yet as his openness grows, subtle signals start to emerge, signals that he needs you more than he consciously understands. According to Carl Jung, the unconscious always reveals itself through patterns, symbols, and behaviors that speak louder than deliberate words. By paying attention to these signs, you uncover the truth. His reliance on you runs deeper than he admits. One of the clearest signs is the way his energy shifts around you. Notice how his tone, his body language, even his eyes change when he speaks in your presence. He may relax in ways he does not elsewhere, or he may show nervous excitement that betrays a longing for validation. Jung explained that the psyche seeks mirrors to reflect its hidden parts. When he turns to you, what he seeks is not only conversation, and he seeks himself through you. This is why his need for you grows stronger than he realizes. Another sign is frequency. What starts as occasional sharing can become routine. He may look for excuses to reach out, not always with something urgent to say, but simply to maintain the connection. This behavior reveals that you have become more than a listener. You are now a psychological anchor. The unconscious drives him to return because your presence offers a sense of integration he cannot achieve on his own. Pay attention to how he frames your role. He may say things like, "You're the only one I can talk to," or "You understand me better than anyone else." On the surface, these sound like compliments. At a deeper level, they are confessions of need. They reveal that his unconscious has projected onto you the role of confidant, healer, or even savior. This is not simply about who you are, but about what you represent in his inner world. The more he depends on you, the more obvious the signs become. He may share details of his marriage, not just problems, but small frustrations, as though testing whether you will continue to hold the space for him. He may lean on you emotionally in moments of stress, expecting comfort that should be sought within his own life. Jung would interpret this as a failure to integrate his shadow. Instead of confronting his own unmet needs, he projects them outward and places them in your care. The paradox is that he often does not consciously recognize this dependence. To him, it feels natural, even innocent. He may genuinely believe he is only talking, only sharing. Yet the intensity of his reliance betrays the unconscious truth. He needs the connection to feel whole, even if he cannot say it out loud. His words may minimize it, but his behavior exposes it. You may also notice how his mood changes depending on your availability. If you respond quickly, he feels uplifted. If you withdraw, he may become anxious, distant, or even resentful. These emotional fluctuations are signs of reliance. Jung explained that when the unconscious clings to another person, it creates emotional turbulence whenever that bond is threatened. This turbulence is proof that the tie has grown stronger than either party intended. From your perspective, the danger is subtle but real. It is easy to mistake these hidden signs for evidence of deep love or commitment. In truth, they may reveal his unresolved needs rather than genuine devotion. You become the stage on which his inner conflicts are acted out. The more he depends on you, the less he faces within himself. The hidden truth is that his openness is not neutral. Each confession, each moment of trust binds him more closely to you. He may not consciously realize the depth of this attachment, but his unconscious reveals it in countless small ways. His attention, his reliance, his expectations. And once these signs are present, the bond is no longer casual. What you see then is not only a man talking, it is a man needing. A man whose unconscious has found in you the reflection he cannot live without. The signs may be hidden, but they are unmistakable once you know how to read them. The invisible game between his mind and yours. When a married man opens up to you, it is easy to believe that the exchange is simple. One person speaks, the other listens. Yet beneath this surface, a more complex dance unfolds. An invisible game between his mind and yours. Carl Jung taught that every interaction carries unconscious dynamics, and when trust grows into intimacy, these dynamics intensify. What feels like a conversation is, in truth, an exchange of projections, emotions, and hidden needs flowing both ways. This game is invisible because it rarely appears in obvious gestures. Instead, it lives in subtle pauses, in the weight of silence, in the way his words pull at your emotions. Each time he shares, he is not only revealing his inner world, he is drawing you into it. And each time you respond, your own unconscious reacts, sometimes more deeply than you realize. The bond becomes more than words. It becomes a psychological entanglement. Jung explained that when two psyches meet, an unconscious field is created. In this field, archetypes emerge and play out roles that neither person consciously chooses. For the married man, you may embody his anima, the inner feminine image that awakens inspiration and longing. For you, he may represent the figure of the wounded man or the secret keeper, stirring emotions you did not expect. These roles create a powerful tension, making the connection feel fated, almost inevitable. But this sense of inevitability is part of the game. It makes you believe that what is unfolding has a destiny of its own, when in reality it is the unconscious at work. His psyche uses you as a mirror, while your psyche in turn responds to the reflection. The more he shares, the more you feel drawn in, and the cycle strengthens. Neither of you may fully understand why the bond feels so compelling, yet both feel its pull. The invisible game also shows itself in the balance of power. When he confides, he gives you the role of guardian of his secrets. This grants you influence over him, whether you seek it or not. At the same time, by revealing his vulnerability, he binds you with a sense of responsibility. You begin to feel that you cannot simply step away, because his openness has created an unspoken contract. This shifting of roles, power, dependence, responsibility, is the essence of the psychological game. What makes it particularly strong is projection. Jung described projection as the act of placing inner qualities onto another person. He projects unmet desires onto you, seeing in you what he lacks. Meanwhile, you may project onto him the role of someone who validates your importance, your wisdom, or your empathy. These projections feed each other, weaving a net that grows tighter with every conversation. The danger is subtle but significant. If you mistake projection for truth, you begin to act as though the bond is unbreakable. You may think his words reflect who he truly is, when they are often expressions of his shadow. He may believe your presence is the answer to his longings, when in fact it is his unconscious calling for integration. The invisible game thrives on this confusion, binding both of you in illusions that feel real. Another dimension of this game is silence. Notice how even when he is not speaking, his absence or distance carries weight. If he withdraws, you may feel unsettled, wondering what you did or what changed. This is proof that the bond has moved beyond conscious control. His psyche has entered yours and yours has entered his. The game is no longer optional. It is already being played. The key to understanding this dynamic is to recognize that it is not about manipulation, but about unconscious need. Neither of you set out to create this bond, yet it forms because the unconscious seeks wholeness. By speaking, he activates parts of himself he has ignored. By listening, you activate responses in yourself that reveal your own depth. This is why the connection feels magnetic, because it is built on the invisible pull of the psyche. The hidden truth is that when he opens up, it is not just a man speaking to a woman. It is two psyches entering a game neither fully understands. His mind and yours become entwined, trading shadows and projections in silence and in speech. And once this game has begun, it changes everything. The real reason his unconscious cannot hide. When a married man opens up to you, it may appear like a matter of circumstance, a moment of vulnerability, a passing need for comfort, or a spontaneous act of honesty. But in reality, what pushes him to speak is not mere chance. It is the unconscious pressing against the surface of his life, demanding to be heard. Carl Jung insisted that what we repress will always find a way to reveal itself. And when a man chooses you as the one to hear him, it means his unconscious has decided the time has come to break through. The real reason lies in his psyche's longing for wholeness. Marriage often provides stability, but stability comes at a cost. The exclusion of certain desires, certain voices, certain truths. To maintain the image of a devoted husband, he pushes parts of himself into the shadows. Yet the psyche does not tolerate division forever. It searches for expression, for recognition, for balance. When he speaks to you, he is unconsciously trying to restore what has been lost within himself. His words are not random. They are symbols. Behind every confession, every frustration, every memory, there is an archetypal force at work. The archetype of the lover may push him to reveal passion. The archetype of the seeker may urge him to confess emptiness. The archetype of the wounded man may call for empathy and healing. He does not control these impulses. They rise from the depths and you become the listener who receives them. What makes this reason so powerful is that it bypasses his rational will. Consciously, he may want to remain silent, to stay loyal to the life he has built, but unconsciously he cannot hide forever. His inner truth finds cracks in the armor, and through those cracks it leaks into your conversations. That is why his words sometimes feel charged, heavy, or even fateful. They are not just sentences, they are eruptions of a deeper truth. Yet this process is not without cost. By confiding in you, he destabilizes the carefully constructed balance of his outer life. The unconscious does not consider consequences. It only seeks expression. He may feel relieved in the moment, but afterward he may wrestle with guilt or confusion. This cycle reveals that his unconscious has claimed authority over his conscious plans. The more he tries to suppress it, the more it insists on speaking. For you, this places you in a unique position. You are not only hearing his words, you are witnessing the drama of his inner world. You stand at the intersection of his divided self, the man he presents to the world and the man his unconscious insists he truly is. This can be overwhelming because it is more than personal. It is archetypal. It is his psyche using you as a stage for its unfinished story. Jung reminded us that the unconscious is not our enemy. It is the missing half of our being, calling us toward wholeness. When he opens up to you, what is really happening is that his soul is knocking on the door of his own awareness. You may feel flattered, confused, or burdened, but the deeper truth is that you have become a witness to his struggle for integration. And here lies the hidden reason he cannot hide. The unconscious always seeks the light. No mask, no duty, no role can silence it forever. In you, he sees the possibility of reflection, of recognition, of release. That is why he speaks, why he confides, why he trusts. His unconscious cannot bear to remain silent, and so it chooses you as its mirror. In the end, his words are not only about him or about you. They are about the timeless drama of the human soul seeking to be whole. And perhaps the most profound realization is this. When you hear his secret, you are not just listening to a man. You are listening to life itself calling him to awaken.